It was the first day of 5th grade in a small town in Ohio when young Nathan Carter noticed something that tugged at his heart. As students ran across the schoolyard in new sneakers, backpacks bouncing, one boy stood quietly near the edge of the playground. His name was Eli, a shy, slender kid with sun-bleached hair and downcast eyes. What caught Nathan's attention wasn't his silence, but the fact that Eli wore torn socks and no shoes, even as the early autumn chill nipped the air. Most kids ignored Eli or whispered behind his back. But not Nathan. Raised by a single mom who worked 2 jobs, Nathan understood what it meant to go without. Maybe that's why he couldn't stop staring at Eli's feet during recess. And then, without telling anyone, Nathan did something small, something quiet, but something unforgettable. He went to his cubby, pulled out the clean pair of sneakers his mom had saved up to buy, and walked back to Eli. "You can have these," Nathan said, holding them out without fanfare. Eli looked at him, stunned. "But they're yours," he whispered. Nathan just smiled. "I'll tell my mom I left them in gym. She won't be mad." Eli slipped the shoes on, and though they were a little snug, he beamed. It was the first time he'd smiled since coming to that school. No one knew, no teacher, no student, just the 2 of them. And though they never became best friends, that moment etched itself in both their lives like a quiet vow. Time moved on. They went to different middle schools. Life scattered them across towns, then states, and eventually decades. Nathan grew up to become a paramedic, a man devoted to helping others in emergencies, just like the ones he'd watched his mother survive. He had a small family, a house in the suburbs, and a calm rhythm to his life. He never thought much about that day in 5th grade. To him, it had just been a decent thing to do. But for Eli, that moment had never faded. That pair of shoes wasn't just a gift, it was dignity. It was warmth. It was someone saying, "You matter." After high school, Eli's life hadn't been easy. He spent time in shelters, bounced from job to job, and even struggled with substance abuse for a few years. But he never forgot the boy who gave him shoes without pity or attention. That kindness became a thread he clung to through the darkest nights. Years passed. Eli cleaned up, went to community college, and eventually trained as a firefighter, determined to one day pay forward what was given to him. And then, as fate would have it, their paths crossed again. Not in a park. Not at a reunion. But at the scene of a violent multi-car crash on a snowy highway outside Cleveland. Nathan had been driving home from a late shift when the accident happened. His car was crushed by an SUV that had skidded on black ice. He was pinned, unconscious, and bleeding as emergency crews arrived. Firefighters rushed in, cutting through metal, calling out for survivors. One of them froze when he saw the man behind the shattered windshield. "Carter?" he murmured. "Nathan Carter?" Eli felt his pulse stop. The name, the face, older now, weathered, but unmistakable. He barked orders at his team, and worked with a desperation no one else understood. They pulled Nathan out just in time, stabilized him, and rushed him to the hospital. He didn't regain consciousness until the next day. When Nathan woke up, groggy and bruised, a familiar yet older face sat beside him. "You probably don't remember me," Eli said with a small smile. "But a long time ago, you gave me a pair of shoes. And yesterday, I got to return the favor." Nathan stared, slowly remembering. The school. The socks. The shoes. And then he smiled through the pain. "I remember," he said softly. "And I'm really glad you did.